This week we had the release of James Gunn's Superman, and my thoughts on it are this movie's all right, but on the more positive side of all right. Superman definitely takes some inspiration from Star Wars A New Hope, and where it gives you kind of some background knowledge, and then it throws you right into the middle of the action. It's understandable as to why they did that, but I'm not necessarily a fan of how they did it. How they did it was they didn't necessarily throw you in the middle of the action. They threw you in right in the middle of the end of an action sequence. And so I think James Gunn did this because the biggest criticism that Superman has as a character is that he's indestructible and like nobody can ever really beat him. And this movie does not shy away from the fact of showing that he can get the crap beat out of him often. And that's how this movie starts. It starts with him already having his ass beat and needing to heal. And personally, I would have rather had just started in the middle of that battle where he gets the crap beat out of him than at the very end of it. It didn't even have to be the beginning of that battle, but at least in the middle of it. And then show him get hurt and fly down to where the fortress is to heal and call it to Krypto and all that we've all seen in the trailers. So when the movie kicks off, it starts, he's hurt, he heals, he goes back and fights again, and then he's hurt again. And it just feels very rushed to me. From there, though, at least upon the first viewing of the movie, it felt all over the place. It felt like a big thing of pinball. It felt like movie pinball where you shoot the pinball up and there's all these like ding, 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 ding. It's all that going on over there, while over here is even more. And then it comes all the way down and does this over here. It's everywhere. But after seeing it a second time and knowing what's coming, that kind of choppiness of it does feel a little bit diluted, which was refreshing. The movie itself does feel like an episode of the animated series, and I love that a lot. It actually felt like a true animation came to real life. And I really enjoy this because this isn't something that we've gotten in any Superman movie before. We've gotten comic booky movies, but nothing like this, like an episode from the animated series or from Justice League that came to life. The closest thing to that was that I got that feeling in was at the beginning of The Flash, when The Flash is helping Batman do a mission in Gotham City, and then Wonder Woman comes out of nowhere, and then they all interact. That felt like a Saturday morning cartoon to me, and this movie, Superman, just takes it to a whole other level. The movie definitely knows that it itself is an iteration of a fantasy and is not trying to put the audience into the perspective of this could be real life. It knows it's fake and it goes full force with it. And it does make you believe that the people in this world understand what this world is, kind of like the way that Marvel has gone. You got Erisham the Judge coming out of nowhere, but nobody's surprised because at any moment in time, half the universe can get snapped away. So I am liking that style and that mentality of world building within this movie and this universe so far. The chemistry between the actors and their characters, for the most part, is fantastic. There were a couple actors and characters I could have done without, like the engineer or Eve Tessmacher, but I'm no actor, so who am I to judge? It's just me personally. I felt like they were kind of in a way irrelevant to the movie, but they also don't take you out of the movie. When it comes to the character of Clark Kent, I don't ever want to hear anybody else whine and complain and moan that there wasn't enough Clark in Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice, because there is less Clark Kent in this movie, at least so it feels like. David Cornsweet is Clark for maybe 5 or 6 minutes in total of the 2-hour movie. And I really do hope to see him more as Clark Kent in upcoming installments. Doesn't necessarily have to be in more Superman movies, but just in general, see more of how he would portray Clark Kent. David Cornsweet, though, as Superman is a delight. He's so full of optimism and honesty and hope and kindness, and also in a way curiosity. There was a moment too where instead of going to fight the antagonist in the scene, I think at that moment it was the kaiju, instead of going to go and fight the kaiju again, he had turned to a building that got burned and asked if everybody was okay, and kind of gave this like half-cocked smile and a thumbs up. And to me, that scene right there alone just proved why he is one of the best people to play Superman and the best person at this moment in time to play Superman. The writing of this movie and the acting from David Cornsweet as Superman shows us, the audience, that Superman values all life. And he does truly cherish saving everybody's life as much as he can. And when he can't, you feel his pain in his acting, the way that David Cornsweet did it. You feel hurt. You feel just like he does. And in that moment, you are Superman as the audience, feeling the pain of him not being able to save everybody that he tries so hard to do, and he takes great pride in doing. And the way in this particular scene that I'm talking about, where he screams out in pain from not being able to save somebody, it reminded me a lot of when Henry Cavill screamed at the end of Man of Steel. So overall, I truly do enjoy David Cornsweet as Superman. I just need to see a little bit more of him. I felt like there wasn't the kind of interaction that you're hoping for with this character. it's almost just like he goes to he goes to fight and then gets his ass kicked and then does a little bit of talking, but it's not enough talking between other heroes that I want to see him do. Like I would love to see him talk to Batman and try to talk sense into Batman and just see that contrast between those two characters. The only person he really has contrasting him is Lois, but Lois is only contrasting him when he's Clark. So there's a big difference in that way. But speaking of Lois, Rachel Brosnahan does a great job, but she gave me a Lois that I wasn't quite expecting. I was expecting her to be more like Lois from Smallville, where she was just very snarky all the time, but instead she reminded me more of Lois from the animated series. Her chemistry with David Cornsweet is unmatchable, and you really believe these people care for each other regardless of any obstacles that come in their way, including themselves. One thing that I've always been against is that Lois rarely ever falls for Clark. She always tends to fall for Superman and then finds out he's Clark later. So with this movie having taken place a few months after they've already been a couple, it does make me wonder, does she fall for Clark? Or does she fall for Superman? And that's something that I kind of wish we got to see. I'm led to believe that she falls for Clark first because it's not until this movie where she gets her first interview with him. The last 3 years that Superman's existed, Clark has been the one interviewing Superman, so he's just been interviewing himself. But who knows? The side characters in this movie, I were worried were going to make the movie feel cluttered, and it does not at all, in my opinion. They have just the right amount of screen time and come in when it's most necessary. They're not just there to be there. I do wish that we would have seen more Green Lantern just because I like the hero, but we have a whole universe to expand on and see more of, and Green Lantern has his own show coming. Not this particular Guy Gardner Green Lantern, but just the Green Lanterns in general, and I like the Green Lantern Corps. So I'm excited for that show. The way James Gunn used Mr. Terrific and his T-Spheres was really fun. There's an action sequence with Mr. Terrific where you can tell James Gunn used inspiration and influence from the way that he used Yondu's arrow and putting that to the T-Spheres of Mr. Terrific. And it was a really fun sequence, I gotta say. Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor was great and extremely emotional. His acting of the character is so good through his body language and his mentality and like that menacing mindset. But when he speaks, his voice tone doesn't match the body language of the character and the mentality of where the character's at. So that is probably just a me thing, but I feel like he should have a much deeper voice for the amount of evil that he's doing in this movie. That being said, though, I would love in the future movie to see an interrogation scene between Lex and Lois. They had 0 screen time together from what I remember, and I don't think they interacted with each other at all. But I would love to see, as I said, an interrogation scene that could be reminiscent of the interrogation scene between Loki and Black Widow. Something about Lex and that evil menacing tone that he has, and just the reporter that just is punk rock and doesn't really care about anything from Lois Lane. I think that would be a really good combative scene. So hopefully something like that happens in the future. Ma and Pa Kent in this movie, they were just okay to me. It's the way they were written. And in my opinion, they were written as dumb characters. When I see this movie, having now seen it twice, I never once thought of his parents in this particular iteration to be hardworking farmers that have been through some shit, both in their life and in raising their child to become the man we know as Superman. Pa Kent, in particular, he just seems like a soy boy that sits down and cries all the time. He doesn't seem like a farmer that's like a man's man. And Ma Kent, she just seemed like she's losing her marbles the whole movie whenever she's in it. It just doesn't fit, and that's nothing on the actors. That's just on the way that they're written. So hopefully they're either written out in future installments or they're written better. And speaking of Superman's parents, there's a twist on the biological nature of Superman's parents that went in the route, I believe, of like the Ultraman New 52 route, where they send him here to do bad and to rule versus to help. And I don't like that. I haven't seen that in a live action movie yet, obviously. I like the idea that, hey, there's still good people or good things or good species out there in the cosmos that would do the deed of sacrificing themselves for their son to still do good elsewhere. I like that idea and I like that mentality and I like having those ideologies. So to have that be twisted, I was not a fan of, but there is at least a way to where they can kind of retcon it in future movies. For a movie that's setting up an entire universe, I do have to say, for me, the movie feels very small, which is really weird to say because they go a lot of different places, but these different places feel like they're just a couple blocks away from each other. So I wish there would have been like a subtitle that popped up saying where, okay, X person is in X place now, and then go throughout the movie. There's obviously moments in the Pocket universe that's like its whole different side thing that doesn't even take place on Earth, but it kind of technically does. And where it does take place on Earth is all in the same spot. They don't really go around to too many different places, even though you see a shit ton of these different portals. But again, so like that's why the universe is broad, and you do know it is a large universe for being on Earth. But every scene in every sequence in the movie, to me personally, just felt like it was like, oh, okay, this battle happened over here. Well, this character is gonna fly over here after winning that battle, and it's gonna be, yeah, I could toss a rock and hit the person. So I that is one thing that I didn't like, and that could be a me thing. Let me know down in the comments below if you felt the same way by chance. I like the action in the movie, but because the pace is so fast and so rushed at times, it could be hard to keep up. It just the action sequences constantly cut back and forth, and so that's where I would have appreciated a little bit more slow motion. And what's funny is that for a character as fast as Superman or as fast as the Flash or even Wonder Woman, slow motion works because the slow motion will actually show you how fast they're moving, ironically. And I like that a lot. So there is slow motion at moments, but I wish there was just a little bit more or better framing in the way that they were fighting. But there were also some moments of the fights that happened, especially between Ultraman and Superman, that came straight from the Injustice video games, and that was a really fun callback to me. And to see that happen, like that makes me now want to replay the games and see how they can integrate even more fighting scenes from those characters into future movies. The Flash was my favorite character to play in that game. So if the Flash movie, whenever they do it or whatever the next Flash project may be, oh man, there's so many cool moves that they could do. So I hope they take a lot of inspiration from these Injustice video games or whatever video games they take in the future or make in the future as far as fighting sequences go, and put that into the action. I think it could be a lot of fun. Some of my favorite scenes in this movie was seeing the Hall of Justice. That was really cool. It was literally ripped not only straight from the comic page, but again, straight from the animated page. It looked so cool. You see it pop up in frame and you're like, oh, sweet. I gotta say, that was just a really cool moment. It wasn't even a scene. It was just a moment. Another scene that I loved that I thought was great was the interview scene between Lois and Clark. It was rumored that it was going to be like 10 minutes long or something like that. And maybe it is, but it doesn't feel like that at all. And it's a really good scene between both characters. There's a particular sequence where Superman flies away after battling Ultraman and kind of spins all of Lex Luthor's like goon bots off of him and then laser beams all of them. And both times seeing the movie, I got the chills. It was really cool to see that. And I also love the very last scene we get between Lois and Clark. They kind of like walk around the corner where everybody's away from them, and she just jumps on him and gives him a big kiss, and then they fly up in the air. And it was just a really romantic, like beautiful scene. If the Pa Kent scene hadn't been in the trailers where he tells Clark that his choices and his actions make him who he is, not who the people tell him who he is, that scene would have hit a lot more emotionally. But because I knew it was coming, and then it kind of took that out, because that's really Pa Kent's only scene. If he had multiple scenes, then maybe that still would have hit different. But the fact that it's basically his only scene and it's in the trailer, it took that feeling, that emotional punch away from me. This movie, as I said, is all over the place, just like a game of pinball, but it flies by, especially on a second viewing. This movie is a mess, but the way that I'm like defining this mess, because a lot of people are saying that it's a mess as well, but they still like it, and I'm in that same boat. The way that I'm defining this mess is like when you come home after a long day of work and you see toys all over the place and you get that feeling of irritation building up and you're like, oh my God, this mess, are you crazy? But then you hear your kids laughing and having fun, and then that feeling just completely goes away because you hear the kids giggling and playing and laughing and having a good time. And that's what this movie is. It's a good time. This movie's fun. So it's a mess, but it's also fun. It's that mess, that irritation that's there. You're like, ugh, this is so all over the place. But then all the action sequences happen and all the good character chemistry happens, and you're like, okay, but this is fun. I could forgive it. And that's why I say this is a mess, but it's still good. This movie is framed to have a structure, but it feels like that structure was kind of jigsawed together in the editing room. So I would like to see, or at least know, how it was originally intended from the director's original version from beginning to end, like how he originally planned for it to be, how long it was going to be, what was cut, what wasn't. Because it does feel like there's a lot of character moments that were cut as well for how good the characters are. It does feel like there were a lot of moments between other characters that were just cut. This by no means is my new favorite comic book or superhero movie. It's not even my favorite Superman movie or in the top 3, but I can see where this franchise can grow and what it can become. I think even as a director that has done a lot of good, James Gunn still, in particular with Superman, has room to grow. And I think he should be able to do another movie, regardless of what this movie makes. I think that he can take the best parts of this movie and elevate them to be even better, and take the worst parts of this movie and make and transition them and mold them into being good and give us a really great Superman sequel. I have the utmost faith that he can do that. I look forward to what James Gunn also has as for the future of the studio, as he is the studio head, and where he wants to take this universe. I'm looking forward to it. I gotta say, this movie, while it has really good reviews going on so far, I think it's going to be divisive as well, because a lot of people are going to go in expecting one movie and getting something that they didn't expect. And that can either go a really good way or a really bad way for a lot of people. For me, when Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness, it gave me a movie that I wasn't expecting, and I went in with my own expectations, and what I got, I did not like. I'm not a big fan of that movie. What I got in this Superman movie that I was not expecting, I liked. So overall, while yes, I think it's a mess and it's choppy at points, it's still fun, which makes it then, in my opinion, good. So with that, in the sense of it being divisive though, it might take multiple viewings for people to actually enjoy it or think it's decent or good. And multiple people that think it's decent or good at the beginning might have multiple viewings of this movie and then find more of its flaws. It's going to be a movie that I think is going to swing back and forth between both sides. I am curious too, how is this movie going to hold up in the next 10 to 15 years? There are some superhero movies that were great in their time that currently to this day do not hold up, and that's because they were just perfect for their time. So is this movie perfect for our time? Honestly, I don't think so. But does that mean it's going to be better or worse in the next 10 to 15 years? I have no idea. I hope it holds up, and I hope I still like it, and I hope I grow to like it even more. I didn't like Man of Steel when I first saw it because there's nothing but flashbacks and action sequences. But the more I saw it, the more I absolutely loved that movie. So I hope with this Superman movie as well, the more that I see it, the more that I love it, especially for what comes next in the universe. This could be a movie we fall back on and be like, oh my gosh, we didn't even know they were setting this up then, and the way that they were able to bring it all together was really good. I'm hoping for that. As I stated before, I am curious where the characters of this movie will go in the future, and I am excited for the future that's to come with this new DC universe. I gave this movie a solid 7.8 out of 10. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this film, and did this review help drive you to go see the movie, or did it keep you away from the movie? Let me know in the comments below. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and I'll see you at the movies. Peace.